Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello and welcome to Huda TV series on Islamic finance with Sheikh Shadi Sulaiman from Sydney, Australia, researcher in the field of Islamic economics. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, as we're drawing to a close to our series on Huda TV, we talked about concepts of Islamic economics, the components of financial transactions, the principles, the importance of staying away from riba, difference between Islamic banking and Western banking, ethics, morals and values in dealing with the stock market trades. We talked about mortgage in Islam, we talked about insurance, monopoly and the importance of staying away from it and combating it, ethics, morals, values regarding auctions or tender offers, the value of production and the importance of the value of production. And we also, of course, tackled in all of these episodes the social dimension always there in Islamic financing. So we talked in the previous episode, you talked to us about zakah, Islam's third pillar, and also sadaqah, and how Allah rewards those who give out sadaqat. What other forms of social solidarity are there apparent in our world?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. As we mentioned that one of the social dimensions and one of the aspects that Islam teaches us to support a social community or a nation is the zakat and the sadaqah. There's also something called, as we know, as al-waqf, endowment. A waqf is, I have a property or I have something that lasts, not something that gets consumed or something that will vanish. I have a land, I have a building, and I say, this is waqf, this is an endowment for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for all the Muslim, for all the poor Muslims, or for all the needy Muslims, or for all the travelers, or whatever condition I put. And that stays waqf to the Day of Judgment. That property cannot be sold, cannot be bought. It stays for the purpose that I left it behind. Now the reasons that Muslims do that is because it's sadaqah jariyah. Sadaqah jariyah means a continuous donation that even after your death you continue getting the rewards. Waqf is also one of the things that at one stage Muslims, you know, we're competing with one another to put waqf, and it's known that in Damascus, more than half of Damascus was waqf. That's how people were encouraged to give waqf, and even, you know, the Sahaba gave a lot of waqf. So they give this land or whatever income that this land takes out and is given to the poor and the needy, and that's also a form and a way that helps the poor and the needy. And then you've got another concept called al-hiba. Hiba means presents, you know, gifts. You give someone a gift, a present. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, tahadu tahabu, give presents to one another so you could love one another. And presents, of course, is something that gets the hearts closer and brings two closer. And usually you give a present to someone who you know, and especially if someone is poor, not only do you get their rewards, but also you get them closer to you, and you brought happiness into their hearts. And if it's someone who is a relative of yours, you've also kept ties with your kinship. So hiba is another form of a social dimension, a social cooperation, a social form to bring people together and to help one another.
Helping orphans is also always there, and Quran really stressed on this point many times.
Yes, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids someone to eat the wealth of an orphan, and Islam encourages us to look after the orphans. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, me and the one that looks after the orphan or the guardian of the orphan are like this in the hereafter, like together. And there are many ahadith that speak about the orphans and the sympathy and the compassion towards the orphan. Why? Because the orphan in Sharia and Islam is a child under the age of puberty that lost their father. So even though their mother is still alive, they are considered to be orphans. And if they lose their mother, not their father, they're not considered to be orphan. The reason is that the father is the one that keeps the house together. The father is the one that brings the income together. No doubt about the important role of the mother, but the children can survive in life without the mother and the father, but it will be very hard for them to survive if there's no father and the mother. And the reason is that I'm not degrading the importance of the mother, but the mother is more of emotions and passion. And human beings sometimes can live without that, but a human being can't live without bread and water, and we can't live without food.
Right.
And that's why the father is the one that brings that into the house. And the Sharia defines a yatim, an orphan, is someone who is under the age of puberty that lost their father. And that type of people, or an orphan and the widow, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ encouraged in many ahadith for Muslims to donate to them, money to go to them, and great rewards for supporting such people in that state.
Right, and there are some. There's an ayah in the Quran that says وَلِلرِّجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةٌ, and comparing men to women, and it is because they spend more. It is بِمَا أَنْفَقُوا.
Yes.
And are the men, because a lot of this is very important now, a lot of disputes now, marriage disputes happen because of financial problems between man and or husband and wife. So could you tell us what is exactly the Sharia on this? What are the financial duties of the man and the obligations of both parties?
This also goes under the Islamic financial system, where the husband is fully responsible for the clothing and the shelter and the food and the necessities of the wife and his children. The wife is not responsible of doing that. So the husband is the one that pays the dowry, and that's another form of income to the female. The husband is the one that provides a shelter, whether rent or buy. The husband is the one that provides clothing. The husband is the one that provides food. The husband must provide the furniture. It's all on the husband. And that's why the Sharia, from its perfect system, it gives the husband, or gives the man double the percentage in inheritance when it comes to the mirath, when it comes to inheritance. So a lot of people ask, why is it that a man gets double the woman when it comes to the inheritance? The brother gets double the sister, or the son gets double the daughter. Is because the man is responsible for other things that the woman is not.
And the woman is never obliged to participate in spending on the house.
No, she's not.
But she can do this willingly, and if she does, she will get.
We're talking about rights, but she could do that willingly. If she wants to do that from her own will, from her own consent, then she can. And that's why a husband cannot pay his zakat to his wife, nor that he could pay his zakat to his children, but the wife can pay his zakat to the husband, because the husband is responsible for the wife, and the wife is not responsible for the husband.
All right. And dealing with elders there must be also there in Sharia specifications on how do we treat elders financially. I guess Bir al-Walidain, a part of it is that if they are old and they cannot, finance themselves or get their basic needs, then their sons or daughters must help out there.
Yes, no doubt. If my father or my mother need any financial support, I must do that, not voluntarily. I must do that as an obligation, and that's why the zakat cannot go to the parents. A lot of people ask this common question: can I pay my zakat to my mum and dad? Can I pay my zakat to my mother and my father? You cannot pay your zakat to your mother and father, because you are responsible. You are responsible to finance your parents. You are responsible. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he told one of the companions, "Anta wa maluka li abik." You and your wealth to your father. You and your wealth to your father. So that's why the Muslim is responsible for his parents. If my parents are in need of any financial support, whether it's to shelter them or to feed them or to clothe them, then it is my responsibility, as it is my responsibility to do that for my wife and my children.
Right. Now, a lot of problems occur nowadays in our societies due to the lack of consent or content. You stressed on this point a couple of episodes ago, and you can find perhaps a father that's doing his duties to the best he can, but you can find the wife or the kids are not really satisfied with what he's providing them with. What's the ruling here in such cases?
Okay, and these are the rights. The rights are the minimums, but it does not mean that if this is the rights that Islam had decreed upon me, it means I do not do better than that. Some people, when you tell them it is your wife's right upon you that you shelter her and feed her and clothe her. They say,
They get the minimum.
They give the minimum. No, that doesn't mean you have to give them, and you could become better than that. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, خيركم خيركم لأهلي وأنا خيركم لأهلي. The best of you are those best to their families, and I am the best to my family. And he said, the best of dollar or the best of dinar that you spend on your family, the best of money that you spend on your family. So donate, looking after your wife, looking after your children is a form of sadaqah too. And this is what the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. So sometimes we should not be selfish about it, saying that this is mine and this is yours, this is how much you get, and this is where it causes, this is where selfishness comes. And once selfishness occurs in a marriage, that's where you find that marriages start to fall and collapse.
Right, and again on the forms of that really better represent social dimension in Islamic economics. Any other forms we've not tackled here?
From what I recall, that these are the main ones, but also keep in mind the Bayt al-Mal al-Muslimin. Bayt al-Mal al-Muslimin is one important aspect, one important principle, and that existed at the time of Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, in which he existed there, and the whole aim of that was to provide an income for those who are in need, those who are poor, those who are orphan, to provide the public services and all that. So Bayt Mal al-Muslimin is very important.
It's not here nowadays. Could we say that, for instance, the mosque that is in that specific neighborhood, where you have persons responsible for the money donated to that mosque, for instance, or a charity organization there that really knows who are the needy, represents something of a small Bayt Mal? Or
no, the Bayt Mal is more on a state level, on a government level. That it is looked after and supervised by the Khalifa or the governor. And the whole aim is to have the wealth that can be spent on the Muslims and spent on the services of the Muslims. Right. This is a great concept, and even to the stage that if someone is not working, they support them. Someone who's elderly, they support them. Someone who's ill, they support them. Someone passed away, they pay for their funeral services. This is the whole aim of Bayt al-Mal al-Muslimin. And if we have something like that, and in the same structure that it was at the time of Umar and the ones after him, then you'll find less corruption and more productivity.
Indeed. Sheikh, dear viewers, will be back for the second part of this episode in a very short while. Do stay with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh, in our materialistic world today, unfortunately we're saying this word, but in our materialistic world, I don't know if you'd agree that most of the kaba'ir being committed by the Muslims, or most of the crimes being committed by anybody in the world, is related in a way or another to finances, to money, to properties, to material. So what are the values that we really should always keep in our hearts and in our minds, the morals, the ethics we should abide with, so that we would be making our society one unit, we would be increasing solidarity, and we would be looking after the social dimension in our economy, even if the state is not doing its job in that. What can we do as individuals? What can we do as a civil society?
See, as an individual, I should always clothe myself with the best manners. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Bu'ithtu li'utammima makarim al-akhlaq." I was sent to perfect the noble manners. And the whole idea of this perfection of this character and the noble manners is to avoid any sort of dispute. To avoid any sort of dispute. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in the Quran al-Karim, وَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعِ. So Allah Azza wa Jalla knows that the bay', transaction and trades, are one of the necessities of mankind. It's a necessity, it's a darura. We need to buy things, we need to sell things. But Islam wants us to do that with a good Islamic character. A character that's based on sincerity, based on honesty, based on trustworthiness, based on respect, based on generosity, no greed, no selfishness, no lying, no dishonesty. These are the characters that the society must have. When you have a good society, then you have a good government. If we have a good community, then we have a good leader. It's not always that we blame our states and we blame our governments. Sometimes the nation and the people are the blame for them not being righteous. Because as they say, كَمَا تُوَلِّي وَلَّا عَلَيْكُمْ, it's who you're going to have. And when we start making a change within ourselves, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah does not change the condition of people until the people change themselves. We need to make a change. We need to start adopting the Islamic morals and the Islamic ethics and not just follow the stream. What's happening now is what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had warned us from, to become imma. We just follow. We are good if people are good and we are bad if people are bad. The Prophet ﷺ said, do not become an imma. Do not become just followers. You say if people are good, you are good, and if people are bad, you are bad. He said, no, be steadfast and firm, and be good when people are good, and then be oppressors if people are bad. This is the Islamic ethics. Idfa billati ahsan as-sayyi'ah. Not always that if someone is evil to me, I have to be evil to them. Not always if someone is bad to me, I have to be bad to them. I could pay the bad with good. So it's not necessarily that bad with bad or evil with evil. Sometimes bad can be paid with good. So once we start clothing ourselves with this Islamic character, once we start clothing ourselves with the morals of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, once we start following the ethics and the principles of Islam, that's where you find a righteous and an acceptable society and a blessed society by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Allah. Honesty. You mentioned honesty a number of times, and I guess this is a key word, honesty. How do we persuade ourselves to remain honest, even if we are testifying to something that will hurt ourselves or the people we love the most?
See, honesty means I have to monitor what I say. I have to watch out what I say. Everything I say, I must utter with something that's right and correct. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said someone will continue to be a liar until he is recorded by Allah that they are liars. You know, to be a liar is not a good quality, and it's from the nature of mankind that you hate someone who is a liar. You dislike to deal with someone who is a liar. And lying is not saying the truth. Lying is not saying the truth. A Muslim should say the truth, as they say. A Muslim should say the truth even if the sword is above his head. This is the quality of the Muslim. He does not lie, regardless. Even if I lose, I'm going to say the truth. I do not lie. And unfortunately, lying is becoming not spread, but it's becoming a talent. It's becoming a talent and a profession that people compete with one another on lying. And this is where the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ he said that this deceiving years that will come past, that the liar will be considered to be the honest, and the honest is considered to be the liar. The trustworthy is considered to be untrustworthy, and the untrustworthy is considered to be the trustworthy. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said. So Nabi ﷺ spoken about such days that will come, where the liar is the one, or the person who is dishonest or untrustworthy is the one that's obtaining respect amongst people. But this goes back also to the community, to the people. We need to make a change within ourselves and adopt the Islamic morals, so this can have an influence on us and influence on our governments and states.
And I guess when Allah says in the Holy Quran, وَزِنُوا بِالْقِسْطَاسِ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ, that's not just when you are weighing anything you're going to sell. That would be a philosophy in life, or that would be a way of life or an attitude in everything we deal with.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى. Be just, be balanced, be moderate. Be balanced and be moderate, be just. It is closer to taqwa, it is closer to piety. Islam has always been balanced, and Islam and justice is a balanced way of life. And that's why, as a Muslim, I must be just in all matters. You know, when I'm transacting or when I'm dealing or trading, I am balanced. When I'm buying, I am balanced.
If I'm a witness to a contract,
I'm just in all matters. I am just and balanced in everything.
Right. No greed, and consent or content, al-qana'a, you mentioned, the importance again of these two values.
Okay.
They will make it much easier, I guess, for our souls.
You know, most of the economists
in the right way.
and the specialists 2 years ago, when they saw the financial crisis take place in the world, they said number one reason was greed. And we know greed has no limits. Greed has no limits. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, if there's one valley of gold for the son of Adam, he'll ask Allah to give him another one. And if he's got 2, he'll say, Allah, I want 4. And if he's got 4, he'll say, Allah, I want 10. And if he's got 10, he'll say, Allah, I want 1,000,000. And if he's got 1,000,000, he'll still say, Allah, I want 1,000,000,000. Greed is not ending to it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created every human being with a part of greediness in them. There's a part which they have, a part of selfishness, a part of them being greed.
So it's our duty to try to defeat this.
Yeah. And we've got also the other part being generosity. We need to make the generosity take over the selfishness. But you find some people make the greed and selfishness take over their generosity. It is a portion or a part in every single human being. But this is our test in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we destroy greed by donating. We demolish selfishness by giving in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is how you train yourself. That's why the scholars say az-zakah and donations, which is sadaqah, is a training to get rid of greed, to get rid of selfishness.
So if you sometimes donate because I guess the two cases happen to most Muslims. Sometimes you donate and you're really happy you're donating and you're really satisfied and asking Allah to reward you with the best of rewards. Sometimes you donate and you probably you are thinking twice, but you're just doing it because you want to get the shaitan away. So the difference between the two cases and would the second case be a bad one?
See, when you have a weak muscle, that means you have to do something. Weak muscle means a lazy muscle. When you have a lazy muscle, you have to do something that's opposite to it, which means you have to train it. And when we have a weakness in us, which is called generosity, and we've got the quality we've got the quality of greed in us, then we need to start training that weakness of generosity by acting upon generosity, by doing what is generous, by doing something that's against the will of our selfishness. And the more you train yourself, is the more you strengthen that quality.
So you should keep on doing it, even if you're not feeling, that you're sometimes you feel you're not going to get rewarded because, you're doing it and you're hesitating.
Yeah,
but you're saying keep doing it.
Keep on doing it because this is how you train yourself. In Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, حُفَّتِ الْجَنَّةِ بِالْمَكَارِهِ وَحُفَّتِ النَّارِ بالشهوات. That the paradise is surrounded with hardships, with things that we dislike. It's always things that we dislike that make us enter the paradise. And it's always things that we like and we like our desires to do and follow that will make people enter the hellfire.
What about content or consent and the importance of that?
When someone has selfishness overriding them or overtaking them, they become less content. But when someone has generosity overriding them or generosity overtaking selfishness, then they become content. And content is a great ni'mah. Many people don't have that ni'mah. It's always people people are so busy in life, so rush in life. They just want more and more and more and more and more. And it's just becoming this endless life until they face death and stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jalla.
Finally, Sheikh, we're almost out of time, but again, I guess also the importance of really, truly believing 100%, over 100%, that Ar-Razzaq is Allah and only Allah, and the importance of that in the way we deal financially. Because some of us have a 99.99% conviction, not a 100% conviction.
At the end of the day, Brother Muhammad, nothing will happen only by the will of Allah Azza wa Jalla. It is all in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah Azza wa Jalla says, and every dabba ala Allah rizquha, every beast and every being and every existing creation of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that sustains it. And no one can give you something extra that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not write on you. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had written something on you, you're not going to get more than that. And that's why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allah had revealed to me that no soul will die before it takes his rizq. And then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said a very, very important thing. He said, let not be that your rizq has not came to you yet. If your rizq is delayed to you, don't go and rush and get it through the haram. Allah has written on you, that's how much you're going to get. That's how much you're going to get. You're not going to get more than that. And, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had written on you that you're going to get that amount, you're only going to get that amount. Even if this whole world gets together to give you more, they can't. So we need to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, relying on Allah azza wa jalla by taking the means, by taking, the asbab. But we could never ever change the destiny or change what Allah had written on us, especially through doing the haram. We could always ask Allah to give us more. And
because I guess
Allah,
if we really believe in that 100%, then our ethics and morals and values would really be always there.
Yes, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Nabi alayhi sallam encouraged us to seek our rizq by relying on Allah azza wa jal early in the morning, in a halal form, in a halal manner, in a way that pleases Allah azza wa jal. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran Kareem, "Ash-shaytanu ya'idukum al-faqra wa ya'murukum bil-fahsha." Any path or any door or any way that you're going to obtain your rizq, or you're going to obtain money, or you're going to earn money through the shaitan, well, Allah is making it very clear to you that it's shaitan only promises you poverty. There is no way that you could ever obtain or become rich through the haram. There's no such thing called becoming rich through the haram.
Subhanallah. Why Allah, of course, promises forgiveness and His great gifts to all of us. Sheikh, Jazakumullah khairan. We only have one episode left, that's the wrap-up episode. Looking forward, Sheikh Shadi, for that wrap-up episode of Huda TV series on Islamic finance. Dear viewers, do stay with Huda TV until we meet again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.